asked David, I was like, listen, would you rather have $10 million where you flip a coin, $10 million is on one end, and if you flip on the other hand, let's say you flip on tails, you get nothing, or would you rather get $500,000 right now, liquid, wire to your account? You have the two options. Are you going to take the first offer, or are you going to take the flip and hopefully win 10 million?
And what did you think I was going to take?
I thought, little background, the original question between Isaac and I was 100,000, but knowing you, I didn't really think the incentive was there to take the 100,000 because
Correct.
It just wouldn't make sense for you. So that's why I upped it to 500,000 because that would actually make you think. And I think that was a great prediction I made with that assumption.
Yeah. So I would take the 500,000.
You took the 500,000.
I took the 500,000, and I'm not a gambler. And to me, it's like I'd rather have the $500,000. I know it's in my pocket. And again, if it was a small amount, obviously I would try for $100,000. Doesn't affect the $500,000 really doesn't affect us maybe as profoundly as other people. And that's why I say, but I would still take it. It's guaranteed money. $500,000 is still $500,000. It's still, you can definitely use that to good, right? And I would say for most people that doesn't, $500,000 sounds like a money, but it won't change. I don't think anybody's life. I don't think it would change your life that much either, drastically. What you think? $10 million would definitely change our lives. $10 million would change everybody's life. $10 million would change a lot of lives. Maybe different degree. If I had $10 million, I probably would spend it differently than you would. I would probably pay down a little bit more debts. I have some cash flow right now because the interest rate's a little bit higher. So some of my rental properties. But what I would do is I would probably buy another business. I definitely would buy more real estate. And the reason why I say that, it gets me someplace closer to retirement where I want to be. And I think we talked before offline, I think it was Warren Buffett that said, he goes, in order to become rich or make good money, you need to find a way for your money to work while you sleep. You need to earn money while you sleep. And that's what I would be looking for. I would look for opportunities. So if you had a business in which you're not actually in the business, but you're in a business, you finance it, whether it's stocks or whether it's something else, it's like, or whether you're silent partner, that's how I would invest the money. I wouldn't go and blow it on. Isaac laughs. He goes, I probably spent $1 million right away. And I'm like, yeah, listen, I might buy a car or something too, maybe too, but majority of that money, would be for the retirement. So I could see the fruit of the labor later on in life once I hit maybe 55, and then I can start to cash out. Yeah. So that $10 million, I'm hoping makes me $100 million.
$100 million. So,
and what would you choose?
I'd definitely take the 500K.
Really? The way you were sounding, I thought you would go for the 10 million, the flip of the coin.
I mean, look, like
you have nothing to lose, buddy.
But listen, that 500K would make a difference.
Sure.
It would. Like 100,000, I'd definitely.
But again, you're coming from a different place than I have kids.
Exactly.
I have a wife. You're living with your parents right now, if I'm listening?
No.
You're renting. So like, worst case scenario, you can still go move with your parents. You don't have any dependents. I'm just saying, even though I know they're no sound, but I'm just saying that's right. Worst case scenario, you flip a coin, you get nothing. Nothing happens to you.
Nothing changes.
Nothing changes to you.
But the regret that I get after of not taking the money, that is what's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, oh man, I could have done this. I could have done that. I could have invested in that. I could have done this. I don't think you're not going to visibly see it, but I will internally feel it with the less, I don't say I'm stressed, but I'd feel a lot more elevated in the decisions I could make with having hundreds of thousands of dollars just readily available. And I think when I asked you this thing is because you are 45, turning 46 in the next couple of months. I'm 30. April 16th. Isaac in the back, he's 28. So you're like an elder brother to us. So you've seen how money changes you. When we're here talking about this, $1 million, us touching $1 million can drastically change our lives, our businesses, and etc. You were in our position at one point. You had a desire to touch $1 million.
Yeah.
That's all you were working towards.
Yep.
How did you feel like when you finally attained that goal?
I was like, okay, what's next?
How's it like? How do you go from like, okay, I gotta get it, then you touch it, then you're like moving on? Did you relish into the accomplishment?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Maybe like I think it was wow, but it lasted a little bit. I was like, holy shit! Like when I came through it, it was like 2021 was a year which that we're talking about it, which was a crazy year, and when it came through, and it's like, but I also knew it was an anomaly. Like that doesn't happen very often. It was one of those years I had to take it with a grain of salt because it was one of those years which was like we were all catching lightning that year. You know, it was one of those things. Realtors,
everyone was getting a triple double.
So I had to take it with a grain of salt because I knew the next year there was, and when I talked to my broker of record, we're setting goals and we were set goals the next year. I didn't base my 2022 goals based on 2021. I knew that was not realistic. So the problem with me is like, I made me this cerebral. I think about things too much in that kind of sense. Like, I don't pat myself off when I make something, when I do a good job. I'm always like, okay, but I look at the negative. Okay, I could have done this. I could have done this. So when I got to that, and I'm like, my first reaction was, that's not going to happen next year. And I knew because the market had already started to change in the middle. I think it was July, and the market had dropped it off drastically. Now, if that market continued to be at the end of 2021 as was in the beginning, then absolutely, I would have been like, okay, I probably would have been more excited about it because I'm like, oh, I could do this again. This is the new way. I'm a little more pessimistic in this, or maybe realistic in that kind of sense. So when I made that, and I remember I talked to one of my uncles about it too, because that was always a goal, and he knew about my goal.
To touch the million?
Yeah, touch the million. It was my uncle Mario. And he's like, so every year he asks me, how we doing, right? So he asked me every year. And it was one of those things. He's like, okay, so when he goes, because, you know, like we talked about it too. He goes, you know, it might not happen again. So he goes, just don't spend it and all. And I'm like, no, it's impossible. It's in the corporation and stuff. It just doesn't happen. I'm like, no, it's, I don't do that. But it was funny in the reaction too. And like, it was more like, okay, good job. It was like, we're like, okay, we did it. Great.
Your Uncle Murray gave you that.
Yeah, we said, like, we talked about it too. It was like, yeah, and he was happy. And I was like, okay, what's next? And it was like, that's how our family is, right? Like, you know, we're close, and I talked to my cousins about it too. Like which I mean, my cousins tonight, we talk about those kinds of things. And it's like, it's good again, but so I think the problem with some people have is they'll always look in the past, and I don't look in the past that much, or they'll over accomplish and they'll blow things up. I need to celebrate a little bit more when I make an accomplishment, but not too much more. I've seen people celebrate too much and they lose where they were, and then they don't even get close to it afterwards. So I'm very mindful of, and that's what I'm trying to suggest to you guys too, like celebrate in a small way, and like too, celebrate by yourself. Don't let it be known. Like, again, I'm probably giving more information to people that need to know about what people know. Like, and it is what it is. Again, it hasn't happened since then. It's not, we're not making $1 million every year. That'd be amazing if we did that. But most realtors aren't doing that, right? It's just not happening. But let's be honest, and if you happen to be graceful, make that $1 million or make that of the goal and stuff too, you've accomplished that goal. What's next? And that's how you will continually figure out being successful day in, day out. Did it? Okay, what's next? Did it? What's next? So this year, my goal is I want to make $1 million. I want to make $1 million every year. You know, that's just what it is. It just, if I consistently start making $1 million every year, then guess what? My next one's going to be $1.5 million.
That's the status quo.
And it might take me 30 years later, or like, who knows? Maybe it'll just, something will blow up, and all of a sudden, like, you don't know how your tide turns. Or maybe something happened to my family, and I'm like, I'll be happy with $200,000 a year, or $100,000, or $50,000 a year. I don't know. But the way that I see it is, it's like every year you accomplish something, you have to have another goal set in mind. That keeps us alive. That keeps you focused. That keeps you dedicated. Isaac and I, we were talking off air about a couple of those basketball players who did, some of the guys that did have a goal.
McCants, yeah.